I'm Veronique.
And I'm Sylvia.
Welcome to the High Vibes and Mind podcast,
where multicultural moms connect. Hi, everyone. Today we have a guest, and her name is Mari. Mari Wuellner is a feisty entrepreneur who believes in living on purpose and designing a life you love. Her purpose is to break down walls and build up trust so that we can live the life of our dreams. Mari has been married to Tom for 19 years and has 3 amazing kiddos. She constantly finds inspiration through her kids, their leadership skills, courage in trying new things, and priority for fun. While in business, Mari realized that she has a passion for helping others succeed. She started coaching her team and believes that by helping them reach their ultimate goals and dreams, her business will also flourish. In 2016, she expanded her coaching venture and launched Living on Purpose Coaching, where she helps her clients move their lives from default to design. Mari is also a real estate investor, podcaster, avid traveler, and curious student of life. Let's hear it from Mari, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at High Vibes Moms 2024.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. This is High Vibes and Mind with Veronique, and today we have a guest. Her name is Mari. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk to you. We're going to approach a subject that every mom, had experience, I'm sure, mom guilt. And Mari is an expert, in this. Can you tell us a bit about your background before we start?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Let's just quickly, mom of 3. I have a 22-year-old son who is a senior in college. I have an 18-year-old daughter who's a freshman in college and a 14-year-old son who is in 8th grade. I started very young having babies, and I'm also a multiple business owner. And recently, over the last 12 months, 18 months, might even be longer than that, really gotten into studying, researching, and talking about mom guilt.
Okay. Can you tell us why? Why did you choose to work on that topic, especially?
Yeah, it's a great question because I had kids 22 years ago, 23 years ago. I feel as if I was lucky because there really wasn't any social media, and I was the first one of my friend group to have kids, and so there was no comparison. I was just like out there on the mommy streets, like doing her best, and really didn't feel guilty because I didn't have comparison. Okay. Now, because why I started researching mom guilt was 2 years ago. I was in Mexico on a retreat with women, a bunch of amazing women, and sitting around chit-chatting, one of the moms opened up vulnerably and expressed that she almost didn't come. She almost didn't come to the retreat, and she said because of mom guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away because of not only her vulnerability in sharing that, but the other 20 women sitting around nodding in agreement, understood immediately what she was talking about. And I thought, oh my gosh, nobody's talking about this. Nobody is talking about this universal experience that we're all having. This is interesting. And so I started talking about it. And Veronique, when I started talking about this on social media, I cannot even tell you, my DMs blew up like they never have blown up before. Mari, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about this. Mari, let me tell you about my story. Mari, oh my gosh, because you talked about mom guilt, I went to the concert and left my kid who was able to stay at home. And I thought, okay, there's a need here. And that is what started it.
Okay. Yeah, for sure there is a need. So I'm totally the opposite. I had my kids later in life. My first one, she's 12 years old now, so I had her when I was 39. And then 10 years later, we tried to have another one, didn't work out. And 10 years later, we adopted a baby. So now she's 2.5.
Oh.
So I have to restart, the diapers. Yeah, it's the best, but we have to restart everything.
What I would give just to be a snuggle bug.
I know.
I got my stinky 14-year-old.
Oh yeah, the two other are already in college, so they're gone, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? It's the boomerang kids. They go off to college and then they boomerang back to home.
With that laundry, with that dirty laundry.
Yes, and also like an open wallet. Like,
Oh,
look what's empty.
yes, exactly. Yes. And then, so when I had my first one, there was a lot of, like you say, people not pressuring you or giving you information sometimes that you don't ask for, or a lot of
Yeah.
thing on social media. And that's something I wanted to ask you. I know there's a lot of societal expectation, social media that contribute to the pressure of the mom that they feel today. Do you think that we should just be out of social media for that, or how can we deal with this? Because you see all those even influencers online with a perfect, mommy's life or whatever. It's not true. But some moms, they don't know how to deal with it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I have to be honest. I recently took off Facebook. You know what? Let me tell the story because it's very important. And I recently took off Facebook from my phone. I'm not off Facebook because it is part of my business
Mm-hmm.
or my businesses. And I want to be an advocate to talking about mom guilt. However, I am not um I am also a feeling human being, and so the pressure I feel and the negative mommy comments that I get, I feel, and I am currently taking a little bit of a break because let me tell you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I recently posted that so I live about an hour and a half away from the airport, and depending on traffic, it could be a 2-hour each way situation. Both my kids were home from college. And for Thanksgiving, I hosted. So I kind of was a little tired
Yeah.
on Sunday afterwards. And so instead of driving my daughter to the airport, I put her on the airport shuttle for her to get a ride to the airport. And I posted about this on social media. And
Okay.
I said a picture of her getting on the bus. And I said, I don't take my kids to the airport. It's a 4-hour situation, and I
Yeah.
have other things to do like read, rest, take a tub.
Exactly.
And my post went on to say, this is a reminder as we continue the holiday season, you don't have to bend over backwards for everyone around you, including your kids. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that I was going to strike a mommy nerve.
Really?
Because the comment, like, here's the first one. It was, oh, another thing you could have done is seen it as a really great opportunity to spend some quality
I
time
was
with your
gonna,
daughter.
I knew you were going to say that. Spend some quality time. You spend the whole weekend with them already. That's enough. The whole 4 days of Thanksgiving. She's not a
And
baby. She can take her own bus to go to the airport, right? It's not the 14-year-old. It's the one who's going to college, right?
yes,
They're old enough.
so it is. So to your question about, social media and watching these mommy influencers and it's not even just the influencers.
Yeah.
It's our quote unquote, friends, because we have all these social media friends
Mm-hmm.
that slide into the comments to subtly shame us for not doing it perfectly. And it was hard to hear, right? It was hard to receive, but I thought this is important. I am not the only one who's getting this mommy subtle shaming
Mm-hmm.
going on social media. It happens with the influencers and it happens with our family and our friends and our partners and all around us. So, how do we combat, especially on social? First of all, stop following those fake accounts. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no, if you don't aspire to be that perfectly curated Pinterest parent,
Oh, was one.
own your input. Stop following them because, that's taking ownership of what's coming into your brain. And then, the second thing is take a step back and decide what kind of mom you want to be.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that, you get to be like, oh, do I want a perfectly curated Thanksgiving table? And the answer might be yes. But the answer also might be like, I couldn't care less about that. But as soon as we decide, I think, as soon as we make that decision intentionally, then we can show up to social media or anywhere with confidence in our decision.
Yeah, exactly. Especially some of those pictures, like you said, like Pinterest and everything, they're not even real. When they stop with Pinterest, it's a mess behind. So I don't even know what's going on over there. Do you know?
Yes.
I was wanted to ask you, what do you think are the common triggers of mom guilt? Because I think it's like universal. It's like we all have the same triggers. Can you tell us about maybe like one or two that we should be aware of?
Yeah. I think the biggest one is going to be comparison. I think
Yes.
is comparing your motherhood to someone else's experience, and it's never going to it's unique. So to compare is truly going to be to despair. Because first of all, like you said, it's all fake and curated on social media anyways. You don't really know the challenges, and your challenges are going to look different. And so what I've done quite a bit of research, and comparison seems to be number one. Uh, and what that leads to is a trigger of not being good enough. I'm not a good enough mom, which then it's like this chaos, crazy ripple effect. Because when you then internalize, I'm not good enough, you overcompensate. I'm putting that in air quotes. You attempt to overcompensate by doing all the things that you don't even care about anyway. You never even, you're like, what? Why am I doing this? But yet I should do it because social media and cultural conditioning says you should. And then we get to burnout. I mean, it
Yes.
is just, it is a universal, and it shows up, you know, uh, guilt over not being available all the time, working or staying at home. It shows up, past mistakes and not forgiving yourself. And I'm like, what else? Oh, it shows up by like seeing your kids act the way that you act, and you kind of feel guilty about passing down, certain traits. But the universal one is the comparison, and then shoulding and acting in a way that isn't in line with your values and isn't even how you wanted to show up in the first place.
Yeah. I have two friends that are pregnant right now, and I told myself I will not give them any advice if they don't ask for it. Because
Wow.
no, because
Beautiful.
when I was pregnant, a lot of people gave me advice, and I'm like, and I was saying, we won't have all the same pregnancy, the same. We're not gonna raise our kid the same. So I told myself I'm not gonna. And sometimes they ask me, what do you think I need? What do you think
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
buy, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only advice I remember I told them at the beginning when you give birth, give yourself a few weeks, like 2 weeks before you start having visitors,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
baby needs to adjust, with drinking and everything, and you don't want to host anybody. So that's the only
Right.
advice I really give. But I'm not gonna give unwanted advices.
Interesting about that. So I started doing a survey, my own research. I'm really curious about this survey. Was born because I was out to dinner with my husband and one of his coworkers, who's also a man, and I was talking about mom guilt, and the coworker was like, "What mom guilt? That's like made up. Like that's not a real thing. That doesn't
Sure.
happen in my house." Oh yes, oh yes. I saw red.
Yeah.
A- and I tried to argue, I came down to his level, and I couldn't break through. And so when my husband and I went back to our hotel room, I was just like so frustrated. And my husband, he goes, with someone like that, it might be good to have statistics instead of
Mhm.
just like your experience. And so the Great Mom Guilt Survey and my research began because I wanted to be able to bring numbers and statistics to a conversation, and then okay, you may think your wife doesn't feel that, mister. However, based on my research, there's not a chance. There's 0% chance she doesn't. Okay. So in my research, going back to the advice conversation, I asked moms, I said, when was the first time you remember experiencing mom guilt? You remember experiencing the feeling that you're not quite doing it good enough. Over half the women reported in pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
Mom guilt starts before we even
I
give
know,
birth.
right? I know. This is crazy. I saw that survey on your website. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's yeah. When you're pregnant, you're already worried what kind of mom you're gonna be. You haven't even started yet. So
Absolutely. I mean,
mhm.
and then when the stories started coming in, I started thinking to myself, "Oh, did I ever experience?" And I did.
Mhm.
I did, from the barista who was giving me a hard time for ordering a decaf coffee,
Oh my god. Yeah.
to, my mom telling me when I was like registering, and I registered for a pacifier, and my mom, I didn't need pacifiers in my day, right?
Mm,
Like,
we need those. Sorry. We need those.
um, wow, you know what? Like, why don't we use all of the things that make our life easier? And also, if you're a mom who doesn't, good for you. This is the coolest thing about this whole conversation about mom guilt, is it's the invitation that to do it your way, as long as it's with intention. Then it's all good.
I'm gonna tell you one mom guilt that I have, but I'm getting over it a little bit. I don't like to play with my kids.
Oh my God, I love it.
I think it's really boring. But now my 12 years old, it's okay. We can play board game and stuff. I really love it. But and she was an only child for so long. But when she was from 2 to 7, my husband was always escaping to something in the garage, of course. Oh, what a coincidence. I have something to do. So I was like, okay, I need to entertain her. And playing tea time and dolls, and it's not my thing at all, because my mom didn't do it. She was too busy. She was a single mother with 2 kids and working 2 jobs. She's like, I don't have time for this. I wasn't raised like that. And I have a friend, I saw her playing with her kids, and I was amazed. I was even envious. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she plays with her kids. She's so patient, very patient. Shout out to you, Stephanie. She plays with her kids, but I don't like it.
I am with you 1,000%. And how would that go over, like, with a group of other moms, like admitting to that? And that's where the guilt comes in.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, you don't like playing with your kids? Well, I don't like reading to my kids. And having this dialogue about maybe the things that we don't love about parenting, versus like the expectation that we gotta love it all. We gotta love it all, including a 2-hour drive to the airport
Yeah.
each way. Like, I
No.
mean, the comments continued on that post, and they were like, car rides are my favorite. And I'm like, I love that for you. I love that for you, but that's not me.
I need to see that post now. I'm gonna go on your Facebook. Is it still there?
Yeah. You go on my post and you can just like, you'll see it all. And I want to say that the reason I clapped back and I responded is because moms are in the comments and they're reading. And if I'm going to be an advocate, and if I'm going to be a leader about destigmatizing mom guilt, I've got to point out the subtle shame, and I've got to point out the mom guilt when it shows up, so that other moms who might be feeling like, I don't want to drive my kid to the airport, but I feel like I have to, they can see someone making a decision with intention and how they respond to the subtle shame in the comments. That's why it's still there.
And that's it. Do you have some maybe practical tips for moms who wants to balance the demands, between parenting, career, we still have to work, self-care, without, feeling like they're failing or anything like that? Do you have some tips for that?
Yeah. I read this book. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's a real estate book, but he talks about productivity. He talks about debunking the myth that you can be balanced. And I really love this idea.
Okay.
That balance is a lie. There really is truly no such thing as balance. Because when for example, right here, you and I are recording this podcast. You and your listeners are getting 100% of me.
Mhm.
Unless there's an emergency that happens, I am here. So there is no balance in this moment in my life. There's none. It's 100% here. Now, as soon as we're finished, I'm going to go have a nice conversation with my partner while the kids are still at school. Then it's going to be 100% at him. When they get home from school, it'll be focused on the kids. So he talks about this counterbalance. So we don't have to give 100% to every single thing all the time because that's impossible. It's counterbalancing. And another thing, when you think about balance is I have 3 kids, you have multiple kids. There are certain times when one child is going to need 80% of us,
Mhm.
and then the other 2 get 10.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like giving ourselves permission to put our energy and effort where we want it in that moment, might be most needed. And then with some self-compassion, knowing that everything else in life is just going to get a little bit less. Okay. So just that idea, it's a hard idea. It's almost like a paradigm shift, I feel like, because everybody's like, be balanced, be balanced. So it can
I
be a
know.
paradigm shift to think that is unachievable. So my first thought would be just consider it. Just consider that. And then my second piece of practical advice when it comes to mom guilt is starting with awareness. Now, it's kind of like self-care where people are like, oh, it starts with awareness. Okay, but yeah, how, right? Like that sounds like, okay, cool, but how? Oh, just do some self-care. Yeah, but how? When I talk about awareness, what I would invite all the listeners to do is to take that survey that I created. Yes, it is super beneficial for me, but what it does to the survey participants is it is awareness builder. Within the survey, it asks certain questions like, how could mom guilt be holding you back? Or has mom guilt ever held you back in these certain situations? And if you take it seriously, all of a sudden you start thinking, oh yeah, that one time. Oh yeah, that one time. And that can build some of the awareness. And with that awareness, we can then create, we can become intentional about how we want to show up next time.
Yeah. When you were talking about dividing your time with kids, it reminds me of a conversation I had with Sylvia, actually, because she has 3 boys. And I was telling her that, now we adopted the little one. I feel like I'm always with the little one, and my older daughter doesn't have, all the time she needs with me. Sylvia was like,
Yeah.
my oldest now, I cannot take care of him all the time. And she told me, he doesn't need me all the time now. I need to take care of the last one, or the little one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, she's big enough. She doesn't need to be around her all the time. She's 12. She doesn't need to, hover over her all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
And then,
hard.
it is hard. And I love that you have a friend, a good friend who is giving you permission to give 80% to one in this moment, because what she's saying is pretty soon it's going to like swing the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. So at least
And that permission, like so many people don't have that friend. So many people do not have that friend. And it's the expectation to be super mom to all the kids all the time. And like, you know what? Let's just lower everybody's expectations. And I bet we'll all be better for it.
Yeah. Also to realize that not all the kids are the same. Not all pregnancies are the same. Not all the kids are the same. And sometimes when one of my friends who's pregnant asked me some question, I told her, you see with your kid is going to be there. Okay.
Beautiful.
You're going to have to raise him. He's going to have to raise you too, because our kids are not going to be the same. So don't worry about it. Take it one day, at a time. Don't try to be perfect.
Perfect. I love it.
Can you tell us about the time you ran away for Thanksgiving? Talking about mom guilt.
Oh my god!
I love that. You put that on your website. What is this? I read the story. That was funny. I want to share it with the listeners.
Yes. And this is gonna be a book, because
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to write a book about it, and then it's gonna be like a major motion picture, and it's gonna be a whole situation.
Okay.
So when I was 20 years old, I lived in Florence, Italy for a year and I got pregnant over there and dropped out of college, moved home, became a mom. Okay. So Florence, Italy has a lot of feeling to it, right? It's got a lot of history for me. So 2 years ago, leading up to Thanksgiving, there was just a lot of stuff going on in my house. My husband is a pilot, so he's gone a
Mm,
lot. And so I am a solo. I'm not a single parent because that I'm a solo parent a lot of the time.
yeah.
And so he was gone a lot and the kids were very, very needy and not appreciative and not being very nice to me. And here comes Thanksgiving, right? It's approaching and it's like the pressure is building and people are asking me all the things and what's for dinner and there's more to it, right? That is a little more personal, that things were kind of like shaky in the household as they get. And I was so sad. I was so sad. And I was like, I need to leave. I need to escape. My
Mm.
family is fine. My husband's going to be at home. The kids are grown up. They do not need me at home for Thanksgiving. I need to run away.
Oh my God.
And
I love
I
it.
was, I was like, it was truly like I'm running away. And I thought to myself, where do I want to go? Because I am so, so, so fortunate and privileged to have the freedom to be able to work from wherever and go wherever. So I was like, do I want to go to Mexico or Hawaii? And I was like, I want to go somewhere sad. I needed to feel, I knew what I needed to feel and it was sad. I
Okay.
did not want to go somewhere and pretend to be happy when I wasn't feeling happy. And
Oh, really?
Florence was calling. So I took myself on a 10-day Florence trip. And you know what I did? This is when I lived in Florence, I kept a journal. I still keep journals. And it's a very, very, very painful journal, right? Being alone in Florence at 20, pregnant. So I've never reread it. And so I brought my journal with me and then I brought a blank journal. And my thought was I was going to read my journal from Maudie at 20 and Maudie at 40 is going to write back to her and give her advice and thoughts and
Oh, cool. I love it.
ideas. And so for 10 days, I read my old journal and then I wrote. And you know what I learned? My 20-year-old self had more to teach me in that moment than my 40-year-old self had to teach my 20-year-old self in that moment. It was
Oh,
very,
really?
very, very beautiful.
Okay.
And when I went home, I felt ready to be happy again. I was excited to see my family. I appreciated them. It was exactly what I needed. And it also set the tone for the whole family entering into the holiday seasons over the last 2 years of here's what it's boundaries. Like, here's what's going to go down. If you want certain things, you are going to be helping out around the house. It does not all fall on me.
Yeah. I'm going to buy a flight ticket. Okay.
Exactly. You are going to help or else mommy runs away.
Run away in Italy. I had a little story a bit like this at the beginning of the year. I'm originally from the French Caribbean. I came back from Christmas spending with my family over there, and I got dengue, but I didn't know I had dengue. So I came back, but it was like mild symptoms. I was
Okay.
really tired, headache. And when we came back, I had another trip with my friend for a birthday to New Orleans. So my husband was telling me, you need to cancel, you don't feel well. Because I think he didn't want to stay along with the kids for 4 days.
Oh, it's true.
And I was telling myself, if I stay here, I don't feel well, I feel sick, I won't be able to rest. Because they're going to be, if they see me, the little one is going to be, she's always on me. She's really attached to me. She's going to be all over me. My daughter is okay. She can handle herself. But my husband is not going to do the same as if I'm not there. So I told him, no, actually, I feel better. Took some Tylenol, I'm fine. And I flew to New Orleans and I spent, so it was the three of us. Thank God it was just me and her because I would have ruined our birthday. And I spent the 4 days over there sleeping and resting.
Good.
And I was so happy. I'm like, I needed to escape them because I knew there was no way I would have been able to rest over there. So
That
mom
is
guilt,
beautiful.
there was zero mom guilt at that time. I'm telling you, zero. Bye-bye.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think this is the beauty about sharing these stories is like it's almost like you just gave your listeners this permission slip to do what you need in every moment. You know, we're going to make sure that they're taken care of. Absolutely. Like basic needs covered. We're not ditching out on our kids. We're going to make sure that they're handled, but then we're going to also give ourselves what we need to heal and rest and recover. And this is where I see the mom guilt as like a, stopgap, and totally gets in the way of moms giving ourselves what we need, what we know we need in moments just like that. I love that story.
Because if mommy is not okay, nobody's gonna be okay. That's to say, right? If mommy is not okay, my husband always tell me, you're the rock of the family. Please don't fall. Like we need you.
Yeah.
So I know that, and I'm happy that he recognized that. So it makes me feel good.
Yeah. And you're like, yo, take care of this rock. You're in charge of taking care of this rock. Rock needs some love too.
So what kind of program are you offering to help mom with that?
Yeah. So I host a coaching community. It's called The Crew. It's an online membership. It's $97 a month, and there's tons of coaching in there. And right now it is all inspired moms who are going after dreams and goals of all sorts. And we're talking about boundaries. Right now, we're talking about finishing 2024 strong on our terms. But what I'm offering is a community where it is okay to put yourself first and to go after what you want and to create a life you adore. Like, I want my clients to wake up and be like, I get to do it again. I get to live this life another day. This is what we're creating inside The Crew. And it's a community where you can show up and be like, okay, here's the deal. I do not want to play with my kids today.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, I hear you, right? You're going to be supported and loved because it is intentional on your terms.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to put all the information in the show notes if people want to contact you. I saw also that you offer like, I don't know if it's already passed, if it was before, I don't remember, I'm sorry, a trip. And you can have like a nice brunch or lunch for a weekend, something like that. What is that about?
Yeah, right now. So I have a feeling this will be posted after my event. It's Jumpstart. It's in January. However, I host live events throughout the whole year because as wonderful as it is to host a community online, getting together in real life, there's just something magical. So there's plenty of options to get together in real life. I will be hosting a retreat later on 2025. And yes, so follow me on Instagram, take that survey, and then you will be in the know for whatever retreat or goodness I've got planned next.
I love retreats. Do you offer one-on-one coaching or not?
I do.
It's just okay. You do that too. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we put all the information, on the show note. Well, Mari, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love our conversation. I really love our conversation. Maybe you want to add something I didn't ask, or you want the listeners to know?
No, I think this is just so great. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. As I said, like, let's destigmatize it. Let's start talking about it. Let's make it okay to say that as moms, we may be having a hard time, or we might be doing it differently, or, whatever it is. You do not have to be perfect to be accepted here. I believe on this podcast, in my community. And so you're doing it right as long as it's with intention. Keep the conversation going.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, and good luck with the rest and also with the holidays. Don't stress yourself, too much.
Oh, I won't.
Christmas, I know you won't. Thank you very much, and we talk to you later, guys. Thank you for tuning in to High Vibes on the Mic. Until next time, laugh hard, stay silly, and never forget to bring your sense of humor. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.